Welcome to the second side event of Future Heirlooms exhibition. I'm Feyza, the coordinator of the circle and the project coordinator of the project. Now I will leave the floor to Neil Summer and all the other selected designers that you will have a listen to a nice talk, and please feel free to ask any of your questions during the talk also. And I'm leaving.
Don't leave.
I'm here.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for coming. It's nice to see so many faces who come to hear these wonderful designers talk about their projects for the Future Heirlooms concept that AHEC came up with in conjunction with the Circle, our partner, and also Yonga Mobilia, furniture manufacturing facility down in Denizli, who fabricated all these wonderful pieces to these amazing designs. This is not about me, it's all about these people here. So I'm going to ask a few questions, and if you want to ask questions as well, then, please feel free. A little bit about AHEC first. AHEC is a trade association. We don't buy wood, we don't sell wood, but by innovative marketing programs and design competitions such as what you see here, we promote all what is good in the American temperate hardwood forest and push the message that it is actually good to build products in timber, especially wonderful projects which are going to last. We very much live, if you read the information, in very much more in a disposable world. So the idea behind Future Heirlooms is something to create that's going to last for future generations to enjoy. The brief was to design competition, so entries were submitted. So the first question to these guys is, what made you enter and submit an entry for the competition to make projects out of hardwoods? Anyone want to start off?
First thing for us, it was American and Turkish collaboration. Let's do something together. So
yeah.
It was American and Turkish. So that's how we catch. And I talked with Feyza. The concept was amazing, and we just wanted to do something with wood.
Yeah.
So it was our almost first project. We like to discover different materials. So we wanted to enjoy and understand wood as well. And that was the first catch up for us.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great introduction to hardwood. It's usually for other projects it's a plywood or MDF, which is completely different. And so this has been wonderful to learn about what is different and test the limits and use creativity with this kind of material.
Okay.
And, as soon as I saw the Circle Galleries, the open call, I go deep into the instruction sheet details, and then I realized that it's more based on a material which is wood, and the traditional Japanese woodwork techniques came up to my mind, and I just told myself, let's do it, and I instantly focused on to create my own details without using nail or glue.
Because that's the beauty of your piece, isn't it? There's no actual physical fixings, screws or nails or glues?
Nothing.
No.
Yeah, it's just support itself.
Yeah.
I like that in the brief of the open call there was a lot of emphasis on future heirlooms, which is underlining ecology, sustainability. I never worked with hardwood before, and I thought, wow, that can be something that is a very unique experience for me, but also it will never be, the hope is that it will never be thrown away, and it will last for a long time, and ecologically will be very good for the environment. So I was really triggered by this.
Good. It emphasises the need, the beauty of building in timber. If we want to get to, everyone talks about net zero carbon footprint. It is actually a good thing to build in wood, as long as you're building in sustainable timber and using its sustainability. Yes, the US temperate hardwood forest is a big resource that we can tap into. and there's around about 18 to 20 different species within that forest. At the moment, everybody wants to use white oak. So the brief, again, with this project is to use sustainable timber species that we refer to as underutilised. So species that have sort of gone off the radar a little bit. And those are the species that we've used here in this project. And the three species being red oak, cherry, and hard maple. So these guys were given the brief to use and choose either or a combination of those three different species. And you've all come up with different ideas using different species, which is brilliant. So what made you choose red oak and cherry?
So it's kind of in conversation with the concepts. The concept is referencing to a design from the 60s, and I'm kind of intervening to this design. So the chair part belongs to a monk and an architect called Dom Hans van der Laan from the Netherlands, and I kept his design, but I extended it. So I thought, well, there are two designers here, one Dom Hans van der Laan, one which is me. So how should we separate this? And I thought maybe it's good to use two materials, so one represents him and one represents my part. And the idea of using the red oak and cherry came from this, actually, to show like there's this division of the past and the present, and two designers, two approaches coming together. And I liked the combination of red oak and cherry because, well, Younger Mobilia kindly sent us a lot of samples and we could see how they work together. And I saw like the two of them, they have like shared tones in them, like some of the reds in them can be found in the cherry. So together I also thought they are not like contradicting to each other, but kind of merging with each other, which is also what I try to do with the design. I'm not opposing the design, but I'm also trying to I criticize it a little bit, but I also try to engage with it. So I thought this is like a nice way to integrate that.
Yes, using the combination of the two.
Yeah.
Which is what you did. Yeah. In your checkerboard piece.
Yeah, we used cherry and maple.
Yeah.
And we needed something contrasting with the colors, so we focus on the color rather than the texture. So
it's also very hard wearing and it's good for a lot of gameplay and won't get scratched so easily. And when you touch it, it's super smooth and very friendly to interact with.
Okay. And yes, hard maple.
Yeah, hard maple. If you look at my proposed design, look at the shelf in it is a very dynamic form, and which offers users to design by changing partitions over time. And furthermore, it thanks to modular structure, it provides engaging more with the material. That's why I just wanted to pick maple, which has more natural and minimal appearance to me. So I just wanted to balance the complexity of the structure with the lightness and the purity of the maple.
Yeah. Did you consider the other species? You were all sent samples of all of the species, but that's the one that you thought would work best for your design.
Yeah, exactly.
For your concept.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the checkerboard effect, the cherry and the maple lends itself incredibly well to what you've achieved with that because of the grain structure and of the hard bearing of the two species, whereas with red oak is more sort of an open grain, different texture, which lends itself for different use. So you mentioned before that you'd used like plywoods and MDF, but you'd never used hardwood before. So that was part of the process that you wanted to get involved in the project. So how did you feel about using hardwoods in the future?
I think the effect, it turns out, is really great. I mean, we saw the photos during the process, but when we touched it, it's something else. The finishing is perfect and it's very warm to touch. And there's no other treatment. You can retain the natural textures and the colors of the wood, and it's not like veneer that when you after a few years it might scratch off.
Yeah.
This won't get worn down. It's solid, and it's something that can last I don't know how many years.
Many years. Yes. Again, referring back to the disposable society that we tend more to live in these days, that it's all solid wood. There's no veneers, although American hardwood does promote veneers for certain end uses. But the concept here of using solid timber and solid hardwood. So you think you'll use hardwoods again in the future for future designs? It will inspire you to design other pieces in hardwood. Excellent. Yeah, you all in agreement with that?
Yeah, of course. We cannot save the world just as a designer by all designs, but in a world struggling with lots of environmental problems, at least we can leave for future generations our notes or maybe research-based projects and material-based projects as a heirloom for generations.
Yes, yeah. I was particularly interested in reading the information on your piece, Asli, where you mentioned plastic and plastic numbers. So in the UK we have a word called juxtaposition. I don't know whether there's a Turkish equivalent of juxtaposition. It's like a contradiction, if you like. So you're talking about plastic numbers, which to me is particularly not, say, sustainable. And you then reference that to using wood, which is what we try to promote as being more sustainable. See where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Perhaps
it's
you could explain a little bit more about how you arrived at that.
Yeah. Yes, well, as you mentioned, there's the idea comes from the plastic number, but it's a critical approach towards that plastic number approach. The architect that designed this chair, as I mentioned, is a Dutch monk and an architect. He sadly passed away, but Dom Hans van der Laan.
Yeah.
And he was coming from the time of modernism in architecture, and in that time rationality was really in focus, which means like functionality and human-oriented, human-centered architecture, let's say. And obviously, these are all being challenged right now today. We are trying to approach the design with more inclusivity, maybe not with a human-centered approach, but including many other species than that. And well, this plastic number, I have a lot of contradictions about it. I'm fighting against it, but I also respect it because, like, humans tend to rationalize things, and that is understandable, or at least it was. So I'm not really breaking that plastic number idea. So I extended the seating unit with its planting parts, let's say. So it's extended, but when I extended, I studied his number theory, and I extended it according to the plastic number theory. So it's not like a random extension. It's actually how he would extend, I hope.
Okay,
but still, the function of it is very different. So when I saw that church bench, the seating, I was quite surprised because I was thinking, wow, okay, like human invention, but at the same time it's a waste of material because underneath that chair he just focused on his ratios and his numbers, but underneath the chair is completely useless, and it's a lot of waste. I thought when I saw that furniture, I was thinking, how could this approach be criticized today? And I thought, well, what if I make use of that space that he didn't use? So I decided to put like a compost box underneath that, and the extension part, well, the compost is a vermicompost system, which means there are worms in it, and underneath that furniture there are a lot of holes, so the worms can travel all around 360 degrees if if they want. So and
Got a mind of their own.
yeah. Well, we cannot intervene to them. So the idea is that all this like ideas of the modernism, if we take them now, and like the world we are living in, ecological crises and everything, maybe he would want to do something like this today, that there's a compost system underneath. It is not designed only for the human, but also for the worms, microbes, soil, etc. So, yeah.
Excellent. Brilliant. Thank you for that. Amazing. Fascinating. Did any of you, when we talk about using wood, people think, so lots of people out there think it's a bad idea to use wood in construction. Did you have any worries at all, any qualms, what we'd call, about using wood at all? Because of the perception of seeing that it's not a good idea to use timber? Were you all completely happy in the fact that you were using wood, as long as you can prove that it's from a sustainable source? See what I mean?
I think we thought about doing this in another material, but it really doesn't make sense, because it's one of the best for seating. We thought about using marble since we had another project, but it will be very cold and very, not welcoming to interact with and sit on. So I think it's still, it was designed for hardwood, so it remains the best material for this design.
When you look at the chessboards, they all look wooden, so that's why we wanted to continue with the same concept as a heritage items. So we are happy with using the wood. The material is perfect for the concept.
Excellent. Yeah.
The detail that I thought for the design, actually that needs lots of carving craftsmanship. That's why the wood would be the best material. Also, there is a canal alongside horizontally on the shelf, which fits perfectly width of each leg, and it supports itself. It has its own balance, which thanks to wood actually. That's why I think I had no any doubt for use for wood. Also, these assembled products which serves and highlight sustainability in terms of shipping, manufacturing, or even assembly processes.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, for me as well, actually the original bench was in wood, so I had no questions about that. And also when there's plants now, I think that there's some kind of understanding, plants in it, and it's in wood, so there's a nice, I think it's a coherent idea to use this instead of another material.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Pardon?
Because all these environmentalists and activists, they always ask, isn't this, at the end of the day, isn't this about cutting forests and cutting woods? Using woods. Maybe you can explain that, because this is always the question I get.
About where we're coming from a sustainability point of view. Yeah. Okay. Yes. We're using, in this project, we're using hardwoods, so red oak, maple, cherry, and then there's another offshoot, shall we say, softwoods, pine, spruce, more functional types of timber, sort of a lower value used for construction, like timber frame, that kind of thing, which is usually hidden, boarded up, plasterboarded, that kind of thing, don't really have any aesthetic characteristics to the form, unlike what we see here before. They're usually like clear felled, what we call clear felled. They're all planted at the same time, and then they all grow, get to about 45, 50 years in the UK, and then they all get chopped down. So you're talking about monocultures, which is not particularly good for the environment and creatures that live within that forest. Whereas the hardwood forest in America, that doesn't happen at all. It's all owned by small plantations. Farmers own land about 20 hectares. Say small, it's quite big, but small within the relative landscape of America. And they will, every once or twice a generation, they will get a forester in, and they will take the mature trees out, only the mature trees, and utilise those, and not clear fell, and that allows small saplings, seedlings to grow into that space. So it's all by natural regeneration. So we can prove it's come from, a sustainable resource. So yeah. So that's where we're coming from looking at how we utilise that resource. So, thank you. Should have mentioned this is Umut, our wonderful Turkish representative, who without this probably wouldn't have come together. So thank you very much again. Any other questions? Any questions from the audience that we have? That you can't?
I have a question.
Yes?
First of all, they're all, I think, perfect projects that they have all another way of saying things, in my opinion. But I want to ask about the joining parts of it, because hardware wood is something that you don't need any screws, you don't need any kind of other additional materials, and it gives you perfect possibilities to how to join. And for example, in the Japanese one, Öykü's project, I can understand because the Japanese culture and it's more clear to me. But for the other ones, for example, in Aslı's project, I've seen that those corner parts or in the seating, there are tiny details that I really love. Also, in your project, for example, I think it's a huge work to combine all these kind of squares, and they're all two types of tree coming together. So how you started, or that was the initial point of view for you to start your project, or there was a bunch of possibilities that you gave maybe in brief? Okay, you can stick in those joint parts and you can go on in that way. So how was the process? I'm curious about that.
I think it was no steam bending, something like that.
We had some structure in the brief, so
Oh, yeah.
and for us, we focus on the way of being social and using the materials. So it was different aspect than using some joint or more technical way. Without thinking that way, we wanted to interact with the material, how we can make people enjoy with the material, touching and enjoying, maybe changing, using it a different way. So that was the point for us.
So I think usually the perception of hardwood furniture is very antique. So our thing was to create something a bit more contemporary and fun for the future generations. So the inspiration for this was kind of walking around the city, and we see a lot of people playing board games like Daimler, chess, checkers, and it's something like the older generations do. And also it's a good way to connect with other people, strangers who don't speak the language, young people. So we decided to kind of build on that. But since this is a Turkish project for Future Heirlooms, so we wanted to create something that represents the city, and then also use the wood. And then that's the project.
Thank you. Yep.
Well, mine also. Also, I may highlight once more. I have lots of joinery details in my project, and the Japanese traditional woodworks. As a mentally, it's also when you go deep in as a research, you can find lots of similarities with how nature works or our daily lives. I also influenced about the artificial limb system, which serves our human movement, because it's and those traditional techniques actually derive from very primitive ideas. That's why I impressed about those traditional techniques in a practical way, and also the natural systems as a theoretical way.
Yeah, also I had to deal with this a lot because I didn't work with hardwood before, and I had to learn through our collaborators, Yonga Mobilia and AHEC. They were quite communicative about this. I didn't have any experience. And the original bench is like, you can make it out of MDF boards, like it's a plank system. And we had to create this a little bit more differently so that it would speak that it's not, it's made from massive wood. So we worked on the details with our collaborators. I think I learned a lot of these things during the process, which I was quite grateful about. Yeah, I never used those, I don't know how you call them in English, but we use these two different joints, kurdele and kelebek and kırlangıç. And
butterfly and
butterfly and bowtail, I guess.
Dovetail.
The ducktail.
Dovetail.
Yeah.
I know what you,
Yeah, and like I was quite impressed by the crafts of this, like how this comes together, and yeah, it's a very like it's also a really nice thing about this project that we learn. At least I learned a lot about these things.
You were learning about the material as well as you moved along with the process.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing Yonga on board, I know Yonga because I visited Yonga a few times in the past, and they were delighted to be involved in the project, which was interesting from a sort of more mass-produced kind of furniture, joinery outfit, to get involved in this kind of bespoke concept. I was wondered how that was going to work. How did that work for you from the design, from the initial drawing that you would have had? How did that work, and how much, say, interaction did you have with Yonga during the process?
I think this was one of the first for us, like without any stress. Just like this, we show the render and exactly how this corners like in the render, exactly like this, like everything was like so quick, and we were a bit worried, like, can it be happen? We have this, but we are not sure if it's possible. Please let us know. Maybe we need to improve it or change the technical way or something. And they were just like so confident. They're like, oh, don't worry, this is not a challenging project for us. We're like, really? Shall we do something else?
Yeah, they also provided the carbon footprint calculation, which is on the board over there. So, I mean, there were some technical choices like adding screws or to join the legs or just have a flat pack, and all these were kind of impacting the carbon footprint. So we decided to stick with the lowest footprint, and then we even asked them to send some scrap materials, and then we made the chest set locally. So these were kind of after the whole process, we could focus on other part of the design.
So literally, it came from the drawing to the finished piece, and it was exactly how you envisaged it was going to look like, exactly to what your design. Yeah,
and then better as you touch it. So.
So when did you first see the piece? Did you get to see the piece at all during the process, or it was there and it was like, wow, that's how I wanted it?
I think we were planning, but there was some difficult times, so we couldn't really travel. But we saw during the exhibition, which was another surprise for us after a year of projects.
Well, the Yonga Mobilia's participation was huge, and also I think we created actually kind of collaborative network of thoughts thanks to American Hardwood, Circle Gallery, and Yonga Mobilia, and also the all jury members. And it was very fruitful process to reconsider about our design details. And it was a very important opportunity to voice something to industry and bring it to life. Actually, mine also was, it was just a kind of a render for me, and then just 1 second it's bring it to crowd to life.
Yeah. Perfect. Brilliant. Yeah, and
I
for you?
already mentioned a bit that's like I learned a lot from the talks with collaborators, and basically I think that maybe I didn't like just finish everything with one meeting. I had to talk a bit too much to explain it sometimes, but yeah, it was also, I think, I don't see it like a lot of meetings, but like a lot of education between us. So, and I'm also I also work at the university, so education is like always something that I am happy to be part of. So it was really nice.
Good. No, it has been a learning process, an educational process in learning about hardwoods and what you can do and what you can create and what amazing designs you can create with hardwoods and different species and how, you know, they compare and contrast. So, any more questions from the floor, please, that we have for our amazing designers? Any more questions? Yes.
Strikes on the material regarding different types of woods and information about different wood types that we use. Was there a brief while we were designing it, or was it during the process that you mentioned? Because different hardships, I mean, different hardnesses, different responses to the design. What do you think about it? It's more to the design.
Did you get that?
Yeah, at least for me, the samples helped a lot. Like they sent a lot of samples at one point because I was a bit confused during the process. I asked a lot of questions. So they were like, here, take all the samples and then decide. And I could test a lot of things with them, and try a lot of things. So I don't know if this answers your question, but I could test the materiality prior to production with these samples, and I learned about them. But I don't think we had I didn't receive like a carbon document. But yeah, if I asked, probably they would.
I think I remember a document that we direct as a website for American hardwood, and I read some specifications about each material, and then also the experiencing the material. Also, they because of the samples, actually, it's resulted with the design.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
We can sort of do a carbon calculator, carbon footprint, which measures the energy in and the carbon out. To use the embodied carbon of what the material is. So, yeah, I mean, that information is in our species guide. We do have species guides in Turkish on PDF, which we can let you have. That's not a problem. So all the information on that, again, demonstrating sustainability of American hardwoods in that, some people say to me when you say, well, what's the carbon footprint of American hardwoods when you put it in a container and you ship it from the East Coast of the United States to Turkey? But we can demonstrate that. It's similar to putting it on a truck and driving a truck in a container, 250, 300 miles. So it's all about scale. So, yeah, we can demonstrate legality and sustainability of using these species. And again, all of these species, they all have slightly different properties, working and how they work together.
Exactly. Some of them are softer, some of them are harder, some can work easier with they have fibers maybe. So many specific information about the wood itself.
Yeah, these all came to me by samples actually. I had all the treatments in one material. Maybe three, I don't know how that is in English, but foot and brush, brush intensity. So there was the biggest brush intensity, medium brush intensity, smallest brush intensity. So I could see feel the texture in all of them, and that was for instance, so much easier to decide with that actually.
Just like this project here, where it's been an element of sandblasting that's sort of taken out what we call the difference between, getting technical, the late wood and the early wood. So it gives it more of a textural surface. So again, you would not be able to do that really, or certainly as successfully, if you wanted to do that with with the maple cherry. So that lends that for that. So, yeah. If that answers your question. Any more questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, I really wonder what's the most challenging part during the entire process. Considering the entire process, you can start from the design phase, then you did the design development part together with the jury members, also with the production partner, and then the production part took place. Which one was really the most challenging and also maybe the most teaching part for yourself?
Yeah, I can think of one thing. We had it was a kind of the jury after the election process was finished. They gave a second critique because there was some kind of extension of the production. So postponing the production. So we had another critique from them. I really had a lot of difficulty to accept their criticism.
I hope it was positive.
It wasn't, and so for me this was a big challenge. I tried a lot to make adjustments so they would like it again, and but yeah, that was also a really nice thing, because I think their general critique was that this has to stand out as hardwood and not planks. So that made me think more about the details. If they didn't do that critique, I think I wouldn't care that much. So that was, I think, the hardest part about the process.
Okay, but you did care, and it came together.
Yeah. So perfect in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I heard it, I was kind of sad. Yeah.
I want to add something with that. I remember from the Zoom meetings, I think it was Defnokos who said, I want to be inside of a forest, and once you sit there and you are just lost within the plants, and we made it happen. So
Yeah. So I'm really glad that
this was surprises the audience the most, actually. You don't think, okay, we will see after the conversation is finished, but you can just play with it.
Yeah. Thank you.
What will happen to the pieces now?
Looking for house.
If you would recommend any place to exhibit, please
yes, let me know.
Is there any potential to go into commercial production, do you think? I don't know how that works, but yeah.
Yes. Need to get the younger team back.
Could you see that as the next, as a step that you would like to see, or do you want to see it just remain as this is it, it's a one-off piece and that's how it will be?
I will design around as a collection, make some shelves or as a family rather than just a bench, but that's the thing we really need to sit with Younger and talk about it.
They developed the process and fine-tuned it, so
yep.
They have all the valuable information.
So this template could be taken forward for other items, other furniture pieces. Yeah.
That's what I'm dreaming for.
Yeah. Good. Okay. And for you guys, do you think that it's going to remain?
Yeah, as Lara said, I totally agree. I also dream this family of those guys, and mine also is disassembled piece, and then I can produce a bit more disassembled family for shelf unit. But as long as we work with Younger, yeah, it will be great for all of us.
Yes.
And maybe we can put also on the market.
Some business events.
Yeah, some business.
Phase out.
So working with Younger was a positive experience.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good.
Excellent. Good. Any more questions?
If there's not a question, then we can enjoy yes, we can enjoy the exhibition and also the drinks. Thanks to Studio Yellow Dot. for the drinks.
Also for drinks, please enjoy.
Thank you so much to you all, and thank you very much to you all for coming and listening to us.
Yes.
Thanks to Circle, thanks to Faisal, thanks to Mehmet. They've done so amazing work for us and always supporting and always like doing something. So even the space has the magic. Everyone really impressed a lot. Like I have some new friends first time visiting, so it's miracle for us in Istanbul. So
Yes, for all of us. It's great to see them from really the start, from nothing to this beautiful end pieces, to see the all projects, to experience it. It's really very valuable also for us. So thank you.
Well, that's
And also thank you for
Yes.
making it happen. Thank you.
that's the beauty of wood because it is so tactile. I mean, I've seen the images that Rod and our European director from AHEC sent me on the opening day, and I thought, wow, amazing. But nothing prepares you for actually seeing physically the pieces to be able to come and look at. So great, well done.
thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.